What if we talked about the Olympic Village?
Why?
Because 2,000 athletes, 3 bathrooms. And it brings together athletes.
All right, then what if we talked about historical partnerships that change the world?
Why?
Because you are the future, and you need to be ready to change.
All right.
Let's go. Hello, Scout.
Hello, Dad.
How be ye?
Good. You?
Excellent, thank you.
Good.
I believe you wish to speak to the mysteries of the Olympic Village.
Okay, when I was watching the figure skating, I was constantly hearing...
Stan that you are?
Yeah. I was always hearing Isabelle Levito, the Italian herself. Well, she's an American Italian. There's an interview of her, and she says, "They can't evict me because I'm having too much fun in the Olympic Village." Yeah, she was just really enjoying herself. So that got me thinking, what's so fun about the Olympic Village? Like, what's in it?
Mm-hmm.
And I also was wondering the history of it, like, just what's the Olympic Village?
Yeah, what's it all about?
So I made some notes to present, and I'm going to start with the amenities of the current Olympics.
All right, then.
So basically what they did is they took mainly already built apartment complexes and hotels and turned them into a more suitable area for the Olympians. And then they also built a few. But it's basically all these apartment complexes.
It's a contained area, I believe,
Yes.
right? Yeah, like everybody can't wander around in there. Yeah.
Like,
it's just
commoners can't walk in.
No, we commoners,
Right.
that's right. It's just for the prince and princesses of athletics.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure that they had multiple locations. I don't think it was just so much one.
Are you sure about that?
I
think
feel like
generally it's one place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
then I might have just read something wrong.
Yeah, because that's one of the big allures of it for the athletes is that they get to mingle with all these athletes from all these different sports, right?
Okay, the village, here's some notes I took.
Okay.
These aren't my own words, by the way. The village includes the athletes' accommodation, so rooms, bathrooms, stuff like that.
Etc.
Right? And it also depends. Some rooms are singles and some rooms are doubles.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes some people get paired up. It just depends on the level of, like, how good of an athlete you are, the level of, athlete you are. And then it just goes based off of that.
Are you saying there's a hierarchy, Scout Francesca?
There is. With an international zone, includes shops, various services, and leisure facilities.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
I was watching a video of one of the Olympic athletes.
It's a self-contained world, isn't it?
Yeah. Another big thing, people didn't want the Olympics to end because Olympic TikTok, which was all the Olympians, like the Gen Z Olympians and the Millennial Olympians, were all posting about their time in the Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I saw one.
I guess they would be, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I saw one.
Everybody's got a brand.
Right. And I saw one and it was a couple that were at the village together. And they were both competing. They both went out. One of them got a haircut and the other one got their makeup done. Like within very close proximity. So I thought that was really interesting. And then of course the food, everybody talked about how amazing the food was. I thought this was interesting too. Once the games are over, the Olympic Village is turned into a new residential zone for the host city. So you can actually go and buy or rent a room.
That is a good thing.
So I thought that was cool because it's they're not just tearing it down after. Like it's being...
Anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go into the history of the Olympic Village.
Proceed.
So in Paris, 1924 was the first appearance of an Olympic Village. Before they were just kind of staying around the area. But in 1924, the athletes had their own village, and it was like 4 men to a cottage. And there were around 500 cottages to accommodate the 2,000 athletes and their trainers and attendants.
They were like just temporary huts, weren't they? Like wooden huts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Shanties.
Correct. And the village had its own hospital, a 2,000-seat open-air amphitheater, dining rooms, post office, and a full fire station with several bathhouses. So crazy, all these Olympians were showering together. Mm-hmm. And then the women had their own separate area that was similar to the men's. Similar. it wasn't as accommodating.
No, I'm sure it wasn't. This was the guy, the founder of the modern Olympics, right?
Yes.
Pierre de Coubertin.
Exactly.
Which I apologize to everyone out there who speaks French for my botched French accent. Pascal, especially, I apologize to you.
And a rate of $2 per day was fixed for each village occupant towards the cost of housing, dining services, and local transportation, entertainment, and just care in general. So $2 a day, I mean, that's pretty pricey. But...
And before the 24 Olympics, I think 1896 was the first modern, not modernish, but modernish games, I suppose. Yes, modernish.
Yeah, I think so.
1896, there was like a 1,500-year gap between, the beheadings and the and the giving out of medals instead. Yep. Yeah, and it wasn't until 24 that they actually started thinking, why don't we put everybody together? And that was him.
Exactly.
It's a really cool idea, right? Amazing.
It is.
When I was a kid, I always used to think about it. I'd hear about it, same as you, the Olympic Village. And I had this in my head. I had this, I could just picture it was just athletes walking around and doing athlete things and hanging out, which is basically what it is.
Oh, I get such FOMO every time I think about it.
So cool. It's interesting. Teams like this year in the Olympics, the American hockey team decided to stay there right in the village because they wanted the full experience. So they were rooming 2 guys to a room. And the Canadian team decided to go to a hotel to try and avoid the distractions, But, man, I don't know.
Didn't work out.
Well, they still went to the village and hung out. I mean,
they're still Olympians. It's still the Olympic Village for the Olympians.
Well, and the hockey players are amongst... among the other athletes, the hockey players are the ones that they're all starstruck about, right? Because they're the most famous winter athletes, if you think about it. Most of the winter sports are pretty niche, other than hockey. Yeah. The rest of them are in. Yeah,
I mean, you don't really hear people talking about, I can't wait to go home and watch the snowboarding tonight.
Yeah, you're not lining up for a curler's autograph.
Right. So another thing I found interesting is they get certain things for free, and then other things are supplied by their actual sport itself. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the figure skaters got, by their teams and stuff, they got organization provided for them, towels, mini fridge, that kind of stuff is provided for them by their team. And then the room is provided to them by the Olympics.
You know what that would lead to? Is some teams having way sweeter setups.
Oh, right.
And so
100%.
There'd be I can picture where it'd be let's go to we're going to go to the Nigerian area, right? Let's go hang out with them or whatever. Whoever has a sweet setup. Oh, let's go hang out with the Irish dudes, man. Yeah. Their parties are wicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Be really fun.
And they also
because they're all young too. Not all young, but they're mostly.
The majority of them. Yeah. And a lot of them, that's why TikTok was such a big thing for these Olympics.
Right.
They get provided these key card things that unlocks their doors, and they get free water and soda from the vending machines if they scan it. So I thought that was...
Perks, baby.
Yeah, that was an interesting perk. Okay, back to the history. The first Olympic Games athlete village... Le Village Olympique at the Paris Olympics in 1924, like I said, consisted of temporary wooden huts along the boulevard of Valmy, situated in close proximity to the main stadium, Stade de Colombes, and the daily charge for a bed.
All right.
The daily charge for a bed was 30 francs per person. On top of it, it was 25 francs for food, laundry, electricity, and showers. Next history fact, and last.
Doing a fair bit of reading there, child. Man.
So the next Olympics was 1932, where they had the first sort of, wow, this is so high tech.
Yeah, that Olympic was the first sort of fully modern,
in Los Angeles,
developed, it had permanent structures.
Correct.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
That had kitchens, dining halls, hospital, everything. That was really we could live here forever.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So, yes. Now you know all you need to know about the Olympic Village.
Something I found interesting when I was looking into it was the 1956 games in Melbourne were the first ones where women's housing was actually included. Before then, the women were still sort of perimeter players. Like they weren't being included. It's crazy when you think about it. 1956, man. But even weirder is that it wasn't until 1984 that women were no longer segregated or fenced off. Like 1984. I remember that Olympics in LA. I think the Russians didn't go. It was when Americans and the Russians were beefing. The Americans didn't go to Moscow, so then the Russians were like, we're not going to LA, I believe, something like that. But 1984, that is not that long ago.
No.
That's only 42 years ago that women were segregated or fenced off, like they had their own little pen, and it's like, oh,
you're
the women
allowed
are
near
over
the
there.
men.
Yeah. It's crazy,
my
eh?
Gosh.
Yeah, very cool thing, the village, man. It's you always hear athletes talking about it as the highlight of their games. Like almost everyone I've ever heard is like, oh, that was the best part of my whole experience was the Olympic Village. It's pretty cool.
I actually get FOMO thinking about it. It actually makes me kind of like
Yeah. No, upset. I can see that. It's something I would definitely...
Like, there's literally 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds at the Olympic Village. Come on now.
Yeah. No,
dude.
I think it would be amazing. It's definitely, it would be quite an experience to be around everybody's driven and everybody's good.
Yeah.
And everybody's in shape and everybody's like a certain kind of focused person.
I feel like it would be a really motivated vibe.
Very much so. The energy would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like just no people walking around all, you gotta get up today. Yeah.
I saw something and it was somebody... Wow. Well, there you go. That's my Olympic Village topic. Now you know everything you need to know about the Olympics.
And
more.
Everything there is to know is now known.
Exactly. So now you want to talk to us about duos and world domination?
Okay. All right, child.
That's the moral of it, basically.
It's not.
Well, kind of.
I came across a picture of Che and Castro. Che Guevara and Fidel Castro in
crazy duo.
Hey?
Crazy duo.
Oh yeah, crazy duo. In Mexico City. And Che looked like a child, right? He looked so young. He could have been 17, 18 years old. He was probably around 27, but he looked like a kid. And Castro was there, and he's a bit older, and he looked a bit older. And I was thinking, man, this is when these two dudes met. And I'm thinking to myself, this changed everything. This changed huge chunks of history for all kinds of people and countries. And that's just two guys meeting randomly. Or that's what got me thinking, how did they meet? So, and it got me thinking about the role that luck and preparation play in everybody's lives, our lives, but in the lives of people who end up changing things especially. Because it's not just that they met, it's that people meet and then they're ready to make something of that meeting because of the things that they've done beforehand. So I was interested in how they got together, and then I thought, what other examples are there like this? And there's a common thread through all of them. It's usually one person supplies like an energy or vision that the other one doesn't have. There's a dreamer and the doer. There's an idealist and a pragmatist. There's always some kind of a synergy, a balance.
The brains and the muscle.
The brains and the muscle, exactly. Like somebody brings something and the other person brings something.
Yeah.
And so that was the idea that luck paired with preparation is the key to this. Using Che and Castro as a jumping off point, they met just by accident, essentially. Che was in Mexico City and somebody introduced them, maybe thought they might get along, or who knows why. They both spoke Spanish. And he had been riding around Latin America witnessing poverty and exploitation, and he was just filled with rage, right? But he didn't really have a cause. And Castro had all this charisma and this network. He'd already sort of tried a revolution in Cuba, I believe, that had failed. And he just didn't have Che's like mystical willingness to die for a cause, like this weird thing that he had. And that was the preparation that they each had, that when they met, right? Like they were both ready to meet the other one. And they just ended up meeting, talking through the night. And by the end of it, Che was on board. And then they're getting on the Grandma and they're heading over into, from Mexico to Cuba. And the rest happened.
That's just so interesting, like two people, unassuming. If you walked by them in that time when that picture was being taken, you would have just thought, oh, look, two guys.
Yeah,
taking a picture in Mexico City.
For sure.
Not knowing what it was going to end up being.
And it may have come to nothing, right? I'm sure Castro met lots of fellas, and Che met lots of fellas, and together none of those fellas started a revolution, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, really interesting to me that what a role that plays in life.
And I wanted to make the point that, for example, I don't really think it has to be strangers. Because I was thinking of musical duos as well, like Billie Eilish and Phineas, right? They might be siblings, but not every sibling duo has things in common. Some siblings hate each other. Some siblings don't even enjoy breathing around each other. So I think that, once again, luck plays a factor in the fact that they both liked music. They were both very musically inclined.
Yes, but
they ended up changing this generation of music.
And they definitely have. But I think that's a little different than what I'm getting at, simply because, some people would say Lennon and McCartney. But Lennon and McCartney grew up together.
Right.
So they learned to play guitar together. They learned to love music together. So it wasn't, they weren't separate in their preparation. Their preparation was together. And I would say that Billie Eilish and her brother and Phineas, it's the same thing. Their preparation was together.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. I was interested in just the idea that two random people somehow come together. These guys changed the world, right? It was far beyond just Cuba, them getting rid of Batista, and the Cold War calculus for that shifted entirely. The missile crisis, and then Che's campaigns and martyrdom in Bolivia, and he's still a face of revolutionary movements all over the world. It just created so much change in the world, real tangible. You could point to it and go, oh, okay, those two dudes meeting changed everything. And it also shows that it's not all good, because these two did some shady things too, and people died.
Yeah.
So to balance out Che and Castro as an example, because there's all kinds of examples in the world, it would take a long time to list them all.
Yeah.
Of where there's just weird confluence of circumstances has led to two people meeting that did something together. But I thought another one that's always fascinated me was Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan. Just an unbelievable thing that they came together, Anne Sullivan met Helen Keller, and Helen Keller was able to do the things that she was able to do.
Who's Anne Sullivan?
She was the woman who okay, so Helen Keller was blind and deaf since 19 months from a fever. And her father had read, he was, of course, distraught, right? He's got this kid who's blind and deaf. And the isolation she's living in would be outrageous. You're a dad, you love your kid. You would be beside yourself trying to rectify this. And he read a letter in Charles Dickens' American Notes describing a successful education of a deaf-blind woman named Laura Bridgman at this Perkins Institute in Boston. And so he wrote to them to see if he could get some help for his kid. And the director there recommended a 20-year-old recent graduate named Anne Sullivan. And Sullivan, she had been blind, nearly blind as a child, and had grown up very poor. Her mother died, her father abandoned her, very hard life, and had recently had her own vision partially restored through some surgery. So she also had some empathy for Helen, because she herself had some difficulties in this area. And so she went to Alabama, and she got there in 1887, and Helen was 6 years old. And they just started working together. She started working with her. So here's a 20-year-old working with, a 6-year-old, right? Yeah. That's just pure kind of luck. It is beautiful. It is beautiful.
But that is pure luck,
It really is. Like,
Yeah.
it's again, it's the luck and preparation thing. Like, Anne Sullivan was prepared because of her own upbringing, her own sight problems, her training, her desire to help.
Yeah.
And Helen Keller was prepared because she was a child wanting to do more than just smell and touch and taste. She wanted to be able to communicate, and the dad was looking around and trying to find somebody.
I can just imagine the helpless feeling that the dad was.
I would have been just.
That's why it really
awful,
irritates
man.
me, the people that are like, "Oh, Helen Keller's a myth."
A myth.
Yeah.
Who says, really?
Yeah, most of my generation talks about how they think that Helen Keller is fake.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's insane hearing them talk about it.
Yeah,
and some of these
that's
people
a
are
shame.
genuinely serious.
Well, hopefully they're listening to the podcast then.
Yeah.
Helen Keller and Anne Sullivan, their relationship should be understood by everyone on the planet, as far as I'm concerned, because there's nothing about it that's not just purely beautiful.
Yeah.
So Sullivan essentially was flying by the seat of her pants. There was no manual for how you do this. She essentially invented methodologies for educating, people with these kind of disabilities.
Yeah.
And she did it mostly through just instinct and stubbornness. She just kept working with Helen and kept working with her and trying. And the famous breakthrough, I think, was with water. There was a water pump or something, and Anne connected the word water being spelled in her hand with the sensation of water. So Anne was spelling out water in her hand with water, right?
Oh.
And that was the big breakthrough, because then she had a word. She had something, because she learned to speak and everything else. Mm-hmm. And it demonstrated that somebody who was deaf and blind could acquire language and think conceptually. They weren't just doomed to a life of
Oh, I'm getting frustrated just thinking about not being able to hear somebody trying to teach you, and not even be able to see what somebody's trying to teach you.
Yeah, and she would have had no ability to speak either on top of that until she learned it, because without being able to hear or see, and you lose these things when you're 19 months old, you can't speak. You have you can't hear the sounds. You can't form them. They don't mean anything. So she would have to learn how to say these words too, like water. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. But they did change the world. They showed that it was possible for people to do much more than they realized, especially people with disabilities. There was a Individuals with Disabilities Education Act in the U.S. was enacted directly because of them. And then Helen Keller went on to become a big deal, right? She graduated from college. She wrote extensively. She co-founded the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is.
She campaigned for women's suffrage, like women's rights, workers' rights, disability rights at a time when people were being abandoned with disabilities. She was really something.
Yeah, I mean, all schools should know who she is.
Every
teenage kid should know who she is. No kid should be questioning whether Helen Keller.
Definitely not, because it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Like their story is a beautiful story.
Yes.
And it's a good balance with the Che and Castro, because that's a powerful story too. And it just the idea that luck, what a role these things play, right? Luck and preparation. And I think it's important, because we talk about it all the time. Like, you got to do the work, man. And a lot of times the work you're doing is not glamorous. It's lonely sometimes, but you have to do it. You have to read, travel, develop yourself, develop your skills, your craft, your convictions. And you don't have any guarantee that you'll meet this person, or maybe you'll do it on your own. Essentially, you're preparing in the dark, which Helen Keller clearly was preparing in the dark.
Yeah, she was.
All right then, Scout.
All right then,
Scout Francesca. That's a good name.
Fenton?
Dad is not as good a name as Scout Francesca, but I'll just have to run with it. What if we made our leaders live together? This is what I'm thinking. Okay?
Yeah, because I was going to ask, what do you mean by
Well,
this?
it's your Olympic Village thing. What if we extrapolated that to our leaders? So, for example, we're here in Canada now, but it could be when we go back home to Mexico, or like or in America, if part of being an elected official was that you and your family had to spend that 4 years in a town or something, but in an environment where all of the other elected officials had to be too. So if you're in the States, for example, all the senators or governors and their families for the 4 years, if they wanted to be in office, they want to be in 20 years in office, no problem. But you need to live in a community together. And I don't mean Washington, D.C., where you're in a huge city and you're all in little bunkers and little antique houses and everything. I mean in a village like the Olympic Village. I think it could be brilliant because, first of all, you'd only get people who actually wanted to work together with other people and then it would force them to find some ways to reckon, or to be Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, but I was going to go the same way that you went at first, because they would all be there. Maybe at first they hate each other, but after a while, they have to live together. They have nowhere to go.
You got to get along.
They have to live together. If you don't want to be there, then you just don't run that thing.
That's it.
You just don't. So I actually think that this might be the answer.
Well, I mean, they represent pockets of the population. So the guys from Alabama would be with the guy, and they still have to represent their people.
Right.
But they would be really representing their people then in a way, because they would be representing themselves elected by their people.
Yeah.
There's no, I think that's part of the problem maybe with this leadership. There's no representation of themselves. Like guys just run around acting the fool, or just greed or whatever is motivating them, but they're not actually being held accountable for who they are. Whereas if you have if you put them in a village together, you put them in a town together, well, now you're accountable, man, because on Saturday night you want to go out bowling with the wife and kids. You're going to meet up with the guy. Well, you're accountable now. If you were just trashing him or making problems, making waves, well, you have to deal with that. You can't just run from that.
Exactly.
What do you think, Irish?
I think that would actually be a pretty good solution. So if any of these, big guys want to hit us up, want any more ideas, we'll make sure to put our emails in the link below. So if you want, you can go ahead and click on it, turn on that post notification bell, and check in the description for the emails.
What are you doing, man?
And go ahead and hit the subscribe button.
What are you doing? You just YouTubed us.
Don't forget to smash that like button.
Okay.
If we can get this video to 2,000 likes,
all right,
we will. This is a little, if you know, you know. We will put on latex suits and.
No, we won't. Do you have any ideas for how we could improve the interactions between the leaders?
Yeah, I think that...
Leaders. I love calling them leaders.
Yeah,
actually makes me a bit itchy.
I think that every country...
I'm talking about in country by country too, right? I'm not suggesting that Putin and Trump and Carney and Steinbaum should all live together in an Olympic Village.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because that would not work.
No.
No, that would get stabby.
Yeah, like just every...
Like all of the American...
Congressmen, congresswomen...
Yeah. They should all be living in one town.
Like, for example, the congressmen and women from America and Trump, and then all of the White House
everybody
people in the Olympic Village.
Yeah, everybody in the government.
Right.
They should have to live together, and if you don't like that, then don't run.
Exactly. I think it would actually kind of work out. And if it didn't, then that's totally okay. Just sell the apartments now. It's not that big of a deal. Go back to the White House.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a 4-year experiment and seeing if we blow up the world.
We can experiment on monkeys, but we can't experiment on the congressmen?
I mean, that's the monkeys are probably more inclined to do the work. Boom! I'm here all week.
Burn!
All right, Kijang, I love you very much.
I love you too.
Episode 69th.
Yep.
That brings us up to episode the 70th next week.
Which is the following.
You see how I did that?
I did.
Bit of a math wizard,
and then after that is the 62nd.
No, okay.
I mean the 71st.
Whoa. All right.
Whoa.
We know what to work on next week in math class.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
I love you.